Alright, welcome back to the channel. I am going to do a review of Red Dead Redemption 2. This is going to be like my lasting impressions of the game. And no, I'm going to address the elephant in the room. I am not reviewing Red Dead Online. I don't feel like there's enough to even talk about. I may briefly touch on it, but I mean, do I really need to? I think everyone knows how it is. Alright, so pretty much I'm just gonna dive straight into this. I love this game. I'm gonna say that right off the bat. I loved it. But I want to talk about the locations and characters and the main story points throughout the game. So I'm gonna just get right into it. I want to start off with the locations and talk about the story points alongside those locations, because that's kind of how the game works. You go from location to location and certain story points happens because of said locations. But you start off at Blackwater, but you don't actually play there. It's just where the characters start at. They pretty much cause the event known as the Blackwater Massacre, which is like a big event in the game, but you don't get to experience the event. I think that was a tease for a possible sequel to Red Dead 2. Well, not even a sequel prequel. I don't even know what that's called, a pre-sequel? But anyway, I'm digressing here. But you start off fleeing from Blackwater. You end up in the mountains. You lose two gang members, Jenny and Davy. I don't remember Jenny, but I do remember faintly Davy before he dies. And then you get a new member known as Sadie Adler, which she is widowed because the O'Driscolls come and kill her husband. And then you kill all of those O'Driscolls and take her in because her house gets burnt to the ground. And yeah. But you leave the mountains and then you end up at Valentine, and that's kind of, for me personally, most people say the prologue's boring, but oh my gosh, chapter 2 dragged. It was so boring. Chapter 2 was probably the worst chapter in the game. I can hands down say that now that I've played both parts of the epilogue, chapters 1 to 6. Chapter 2 sucked. I hated Chapter 2. That's the reason why I didn't know if I would make this video, because I was trying to get past Chapter 2. Not because it was hard. It was just so freaking boring. There wasn't anything going on to really keep me invested, because there was so much going on. There's this character, that character. Dutch wants you to do this. You got to go check on Lenny to make sure he's alright. And then this and that. And oh man, it's just so much going on. And just chapter 2 sucked in my opinion. And even though it was a decent chapter, it wasn't as bad as I'm making it out to be. I know I'm making it out to be worse than what it actually is. But for me, it just sucked. It was a bunch of busy work missions, and it just didn't scratch that itch that I thought Red Dead would be. But after chapter 2, the itch I needed scratched for Red Dead got scratched all the way up till the end of the game. Oh my gosh, I was not disappointed. After I got past chapter 2, the game did very little disappointments. There was like a couple missions that annoyed me, but some of them mostly towards the end of the game. But after you flee Valentine, you go to Rhodes and you you don't fight them yet, but at the end of the chapter you do. But you get in good with the Greys and the Braithwaites. You try to play both sides because they're feuding families. And then pretty much the Greys, they catch you off guard in Rhodes, because Rhodes is just empty. No one's out, and and Arthur keeps saying there's something weird going on here. There's something not right. And Sean, it zooms up to Sean's head, and his head just blop, and he falls to the ground, and then Arthur and Micah run to cover, and they're like fighting off these Greys, and pretty much you kill majority of them. And then you find out that Jack is has been taken by Miss Braithwaite. So you go to her house, kill her people, you throw her out of her house, you find out Jack's not really there, and Angelo Bronte over in Saint Denis has him. So for revenge, they burn down her house and they just leave her there to rot. And I did find out at the end of the game she kills herself. I think she actually goes inside of the house and burns herself alive with said house. Because I think it was in I forget which chapter it was, but I went back as Archer. The house was burnt to the ground, and there was a corpse right in the main hall when you walk into the house, and I'm thinking that was her corpse, because Dutch leaves her out front in the house, and she's just sitting there crying, and I wouldn't doubt if she just ran into the house after that and, like, just killed herself because she just didn't want to go on, and a bunch of her family just got killed in front of her. And bodyguards too, but so you go to Saint Denis to Angelo Bronte's place. Excuse me, guys, but you go to Angelo Bronte's place to get Jack back. You have to go to a graveyard and do something for Angelo. It's another busy mission. You do that. You get on good terms with Angelo. You get Jack back, take him back to Abigail. You get invited to the mayor's mansion, which you get in and you kind of learn different things. You meet characters in this chapter that's going to play a bigger role throughout the next 3 chapters, which is cool. It's really cool. But, pretty much, after you're done in Saint Denis, there is one last heist that you do. Well, it's not the last heist of the game, but it's the last heist in Saint Denis. Like, the last thing you'll do, main mission-wise, in Saint Denis. You rob the train station, and there's no money there. There's, like, a few cents there. And Dutch was pretty much set up by Angelo. And pretty much that leads to them hiding out, and they pretty much lie low for a little bit, and I think they rob the bank next in Saint Denis, I think. And then Hosea gets killed, and then Lenny gets killed. But Jose, just like Sean's death, you could see Hosea dying from a mile away. Lenny didn't even die in a cutscene. He just straight up died in game. Like, you're running and he's in front of you, and Pinkertons come out and they just pop him in the chest and he dies instantly. And then you switch your dead eye, kill him real quick, and then everyone's like, leave him, we gotta leave him. They go back and get their bodies and bury them near Saint Denis, which you find out at the end of the game. But, what else? So, pretty much you go and get on a ship after lying low for a little bit in one of these abandoned buildings that no one's in. You get on a ship, you shipwreck on the Guarma, you get caught up in a revolution, and I'll be honest, it kind of feels like Tomb Raider at certain points in the game. That's all I can say. But after that, you get a ship or a boat. You come back. You find where everyone's camping at. They left the other camp because they didn't want the Pinkertons to track them back there. And they were somewhere in the swamps. And you pretty much come back. It's a very, like, not that good reunion because people are starting to question Dutch, and Dutch is slowly breaking down as a leader, and this is really, like, it destroys his mental state. Like, you really see it destroying him throughout these next couple of chapters, and that's where we lead into chapter 6, where Dutch is pretty much, he's losing people after people. Angelo Bronte fucked him over with one heist, and then he got fucked over even more with another heist. He got stranded on Guarma, almost got himself killed there, and pretty much that's where we lead into Beaver Hollow, and that's when everything starts really And now that we see our characters start to break down, the first one we really see break down is Molly. Which Molly really... She really wants Dutch to notice her, and they've kind of had like this relationship issues throughout the game, and you notice it if you like pay attention to the dialogue in the camp. So she comes in and claims she's the rat, and then Miss Grimshaw comes up with a shotgun and just fucking shoots her in the stomach and kills her. And Arthur, now that he's been diagnosed with TB, he was pretty much starting to see like, I'm about to die, and this life is really not the life I want to be remembered for. And he wanted to spare Molly. I'd say probably, or Arthur wanted something different than to kill Molly. But Miss Grimshaw comes up and kills her, and she says, "You know the rules, Arthur," and Arthur just kind of walks away. And then you find out later in the game, or later in the chapter, that it was actually Micah who was the rat, not Molly. And that really plays into a big role at the very end of the chapter on what happens. But after Molly's death, everything just really starts to... Karen becomes a drunk. Mary Beth pretty much is talking about how she wants to leave and all that, and different characters start leaving the group, and I don't know about majority of the side characters when they leave, what they do. I know some of them what they do, but I know some get killed. One gets kicked out towards the very end of the chapter. Mr. Strauss, he gets kicked out. And then you see Reverend Swanson, he leaves. And, what else is there? Yeah, I think that would lead us to the very end of the chapter with, Micah being revealed by Mr. Milton that Micah was the rat. And Arthur comes back pissed. Like, he's pissed that Dutch is siding with the person who's ratting him out to the Pinkertons. So Arthur comes in, calls Cleet, Joe, and Micah, which Joe and Cleet are Micah's men. They get killed off pretty fast. Like, you'll recognize them in the epilogue, because you have a choice to kill one, and then you kill the other. But, yeah, Arthur comes back pissed. He's slowly dying. Like, his hours are numbered now. Like, he doesn't have much longer to live, and you could tell, like, his face is getting really pale. He's coughing more, and it's just getting really bad. And yeah, and it just turns out that everyone sides with Dutch, and Arthur and John are on their own, and Arthur's mission now is to pretty much protect John so he can get back to his family safely and start anew. So pretty much he doesn't have to live in this life of crime. And pretty much it's all for really Jack to have, where Jack can be a different man than what John and Arthur were. And he wants John and Abigail to make sure that they can get away safely, away from Dutch and them, away from the Pinkertons, and live a new life safely. But that pretty much, that wraps that up for chapter 6. Arthur dies. Whichever way you played the game, Arthur may have a beautiful death, or he may have a brutal fucking death. I made sure to get the best peaceful death I could for Arthur. I got the one where he dies on the side of the cliff. Micah leaves and Dutch leaves. And you kind of see a different side of Dutch, kind of who he was at the beginning of the game. Like, he really cares about Arthur. That's his son, pretty much. And he doesn't stick around to watch Arthur die, which is sad. I wish he would have stayed with Arthur, but he leaves him, showing where he is as a money-hungry person. But epilogue part 1, that leads into John learning how to ranch, leads into him buying his own ranch. and pretty much building up, learning about Micah and Dutch's whereabouts for the part 2 nebula. Alright, so John, Sadie, and Charles finds out where Micah and Dutch are laying low at. So pretty much they go up to the mountains where they are. They pretty much shoot up a bunch of Dutch's guys. They get up to the final boss, Dutch himself, but it's just Micah that's outside. Dutch is nowhere to be found. So Micah, you do a little shootout with him. Dutch kicks the door open, comes outside with dual-wield pistols. Which is weird, he's aiming at Micah and you, which is weird. But you know, I think he was just kind of waiting for the perfect moment to pop Micah, because I guess everyone wanted to kill Micah in that game, because Dutch finally took a shot at Micah, hit him in his side, and Micah says probably my favorite line in the game, which it shouldn't be, but he's just like, "You shot me good. You shot me real good." And it's just the context of it that Dutch finally killed Micah. Well, he technically didn't kill Micah. You, the player, do, but Dutch gets his own shot in on Micah, which leads to his death. And then I had a double barrel shotgun for this one, so I literally just mashed RB and just shot his ass up. So his whole body was just full of blood and bullet holes. And he's just sitting there talking with all the blood over his body, and he just falls over. And for me, that was so satisfying that he got that brutal of a death for a shitty character he was, and for being the rat of the game, which I personally like that ending for him. And Dutch, pretty much, he comes up to John. John thanks him. He looks at John with the most dirtiest look he could give John, and just walks away. Like, it wasn't like a real dirty look, but it was just like that look of like, we're not friends. I didn't do that for you type of look. He was just like, I'm in this for me, and I'm leaving. I'm out. I don't want to see you ever again, and I hope that you reciprocate those feelings. Because you didn't go up there to kill Dutch. Pretty much, they were after Micah. They just wanted Micah. Dutch they could care less about, because Dutch was just following along with Micah. Micah was the real... He wasn't the real bad guy in this game, but he was alongside a lot of the bad guys in this game. Which really motivates the characters and players to be like, hey, Micah needs to die. At some point, this motherfucker needs to die. Because he is wrong, these characters. But to wrap it up with the video, though, I wanted to talk about the strangers right quick, and my favorite aspect of Rockstar's games that they implement into their games, and they really did a good job in Red Dead 2. First thing is, the strangers were hit or miss. I know, that's a meme. I know, but don't meme me. But they're very, like, some of them are interesting, some of them aren't. It's just kind of like that. Maybe it depends on the person. That's kind of, like, there were some I like, and there's some I didn't really care about. But, two things I dislike heavily is, one, how big the map is. Not in the way you're thinking. I love how big the map is. It just gets annoying when you do these collectible missions and the map is so huge and all you could really do is go on horseback. I mean, yeah, you got your stagecoaches and your fast travels and all that, yeah, but it's just like, I want to enjoy the horse riding aspect of the game, which I do, but you know, it's just kind of, it's whatever with that. You can't, there's your pros and cons with everything, so I'd rather have a bigger map, and it takes a while to travel and all that and get a full experience with the whole map. But I'm going to give this game a 9.5 out of 10. Like I said, there were certain things I disliked. Another thing I disliked was when you get in your horse, your character puts up his weapons. I freaking hate that thing so much. I don't know how to counteract that. And one other thing I really liked is how exploration is a big factor in this game, which I like that. But anyway, I'll catch y'all later.